Anyway, so all the stuff that you create in the world appears immediately. You can interact with it. Other people can interact with it. You may have noticed Zoe sitting on some of my benches earlier. Likewise, objects have a physical presence. You can walk, jump on top of them, or bonk into them. If you make a platform, you'll walk up on top of it. And so the combination then of these sort of primitive objects, the ability to glue them together, and they're sort of appearing instantly in the world, makes it possible to create some relatively sophisticated stuff. So let me see what I've got in my inventory here that we can take a look at. I'm going to clear out a few of these objects. Let's see. Thank you. I need a little space. Incidentally, so objects that I create, I can move around and I can delete, but objects that other people create, I can't. So litter is actually a problem in virtual environments, although the owner of a piece of property can delete anything they want to. So this is an grind MRI machine that I found a month or two ago. It's much cheaper than buying a real MRI machine. I think this cost me $1, much less than the scanners you would pay millions of dollars for. So it's just a simulation of an MRI machine, but it gives people an idea of kind of how big it is and what it looks like, and if you were going to actually go have a scan, you'd get some idea. Let me position this a little bit better. Hang on a second. Let's put you down a little closer to the ground. So the interesting thing about this MRI machine is that you can, where are you, MRI machine? There we go. You can actually sit down on it or lie down on it, and it will take you into the scanner, and after a while it will actually play you a little bit of an audio description of how MRI machines work, and play you some of the sounds that it uses when you'd be undergoing a scan. So this is an example of one of the things that virtual worlds are being used for increasingly is for simulations of real-world events. So if you've got something where you're probably not going to put people in an actual MRI machine just to show them what it's like, you can give them a little walkthrough this way. Likewise, you can show them what an operating theater looks like. You can show them what the new design for your new hospital that's currently under construction will look like. So that's one quick example. Again, I didn't build this. This was built by, who was this built by? This was built by one of our users called Cartboy Kitchen Sink, a freelance 3D artist in real life. So, questions?
James, is this actually used as an educational thing? I mean, do people somewhere in Second Life go into it and learn what it's like to go through an MRI?
I'm not actually sure. I bought this from a store that sold medical stuff. So I would hypothesize probably not. This is probably just a toy. However, there are places in Second Life that do better simulations of hospital environments, but not this one in particular. Yes, the polyclinic. This, for example, is an ambulance that someone built. This I actually picked up at a store that sells drivable vehicles. So I won't drive it around on top of you. I don't have quite enough space here, but you can actually turn on the lights and sirens and do all that sort of thing with it. And again, this is created mostly for fun, but you can imagine how you might be able to use sort of props like this or vehicles like this to set up simulations of accident scenes, or to do disaster preparedness drills, that sort of thing.
Actually, James, would you mind just taking that apart? Because I remember I've seen
yes.
on one occasion take the ambulance apart, and it was really interesting to see how it was actually built and put together of all the different components.
Sure, give me just a second here. Let's see. Let's take you apart. Alright. So let's see how you were made. So this ambulance is built of... here, let me get my MRI machine out of the way. One moment. Goodbye, MRI machine. So here's the back part. Here's some of the internal bits and pieces.
Just for all of the rest of the group, don't be afraid to fly around it and have a look inside, because it's fascinating to look at different angles whilst James dismantles the poor ex-ambulance.
Alright, so we can take the roof off, we can take the back door out, we can take the surrounding for the back door out a little bit. So as I take it apart, you can see how this thing that looks vaguely like a vehicle is composed actually of mostly boxes and some very clever work with transparent images. For example, these the doors on it are actually just an image kind of in the shape of a door with transparent parts on it, so you can see through it. Likewise, the wheels are cylinders with images applied to them to make them kind of look like they have spokes or rims. Looks like the front of it is probably the most sophisticated part, with some cylinders that have been stretched and deformed in order to make parts of the hood. What else do we have in here? Let me delete some of these things to make some more space. One windshield, center console. Another thing that people in Second Life try to do is they try to be very efficient in the number of individual objects they use to create things. The system puts limits on how many of these sort of Lego blocks, we call them prims or primitive objects, it allows in a particular part of space. Each one of these little individual objects takes up space on our servers. It also takes time to compress it and transmit it down to your computer when you're viewing it. So we put limits on how many of these objects each individual person can create, and so they do things that are very, very clever in an attempt to use them as efficiently as possible.